Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as Epic Fantasy. And this is my latest tutorial. This is part 7 of the Storm the Castle Diorama. And in this part, we make the moat that goes around the castle. I had a lot of fun doing this. It was a lot of work, and it's still currently drying. These white peaks here, you can see is the gloss gel still drying, so it's not quite done yet. It's been drying for 2 days, needs a 3rd day. Let me give you a quick overview. I used a sheet of plastic. I use some paint, blue and black, and I use something called a medium gloss gel. It's a very thick kind of gel that you can put on and make waves and shapes, and then when it dries it kind of keeps that shape somewhat. And that's how you get a water effect. It's a very common thing that is used for gaming and model railroads and stuff like that. Really fun. I'll launch into the tutorial, but first let me say a couple of things. Thanks for watching my video. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. If you're not, hit that button. Always lots of fun and interesting and creative projects in all kinds of subjects, including how to make a massive castle sieging diorama. So I'm going to grab the camera and let you get a closer look at this, and then we will launch right into the intro and do how to make a moat, water effects around a castle. Thanks. See, there you go. It looks good. And that white will disappear, and you can see how it's darker in the middle. That's painting. I'll show you all of that. There we go, the moat around the castle. I love it. I need to repair it still because I cut it up to do it, and I will repair those lines. I love that. I love the rock effects, came out really good. Okay. Dioramas, origami, catapults, and trebuchets, telescopes, terrariums, bonsai trees, and paper games, swords and shields, and real blacksmithing, model rockets, animation. I teach the art of real creation. StormTheCastle.com. Let's make something. Okay, I picked up a sheet of Lexan that is 1/8 inch thick and 4 feet long at a Home Depot hardware store. Easy stuff. This cost me, though, this big sheet cost me about $30. I put it right on top of my moat like this. And then I marked it off with a marker, leaving 2 inches around it, approximately 2 inches around the whole thing. Because we're going to cut it oversized and we're going to lay it in, and I'll show you how to do that. Makes it easy to place a plastic. And then I used a Lexan cutting tool to cut it. You can use a jigsaw to do this, but you got to be careful. You don't want to crack it. I used the cutting tool. It took quite a while. It took me like, I don't know, like half an hour of, pass, make another pass. You cut deeper, until the whole thing is cut. And then I take it out, and and I'll show you a little bit more. But this Lexan here has a plastic protective coating on both sides, top and bottom. It's like a sheet of plastic that you peel off, and that prevents it from being scratched. And I'll remove that. I'll show you that. But there you go. There is our moat, 2 extra inches along each side. And so I placed it back on top of my diorama, right in the right position. And then I marked off the diorama with a marker, with a Sharpie. See it? See those lines? Now I cut that diorama all the way through the foam with a hacksaw blade you see there on the left. I just slowly cut through it all and then removed it. And then I cleaned all of that up. Both sides, left and right. So here we go, and now we'll take the left side out, right side out. There we go. Very nice. So that cut I have there is the size of the Lexan. So now I cut it about in half, depending on how high you want the water layer to go, the water level, about half, a little less than half. I use a hot wire foam cutting tool, which makes it pretty easy. See, I can just pass it like that. You set that tool to a certain height, and then you can just slide right across it, and it's cutting it. There we go. Now that is cut in half. We did both sides, left bank and right bank. And you'll see how this goes and what happens here. You probably already understand it. But now what will happen is we can put that piece in. See the bottom half of both banks. Right? And then the Lexan will go in like this. Now, very nice. And then we can put the top halves in, but the Lexan has some thickness. It has 1/8 of an inch thick. So that top half sticks up 1/8 of an inch. It's higher than the rest of the diorama. And I could probably force it down and glue it down because 1/8 inch isn't much. But what I did was I actually, see, Now, if you want, you could probably go with something like that and just repair it a little bit with terrain textures. But see, now you can see how it's a river, right? Looks good. And I'm going to show you a little bit more. But first, those bottom halves can be glued in with something. Use anything you want, but be careful. Some glues will melt the foam. I used flex paste because it's actually pretty nice for this, because it like forgives any errors and gaps and stuff. So it fills in gaps and it grips at a distance, so you don't have to have two surfaces that are flat against each other. Put plenty of flex paste on there, both left and right banks of the moat, and then glued in those pieces, those bottom pieces, just like that. But now, because our Lexan is an 1/8 inch thick, I actually cut an 1/8 inch out of these. See that sliver? That's the Lexan. So when we put it in there, everything matches up. The height of the banks are correct. Now we can go ahead and see how it fits. Now the height is right. It's very nice. You know, our strip of a bank matches the rest of the diorama in height. But let's do a couple more things here. Now I wanted to say, hey, I want to make the banks of the moat a little bit nicer than just that plain old blue. So I used a bunch of different tools: files, hacksaw, knives, X-Acto, hot knife, hot wire foam cutter, and I shaped in a bunch of like stones in bank shape. And we're going to do more on this. I'm going to put, in a future tutorial, I will put like tufts of grass and little pebbles. But I wanted to get the major shapes here of stones, big stones on the bank. I'll show you how to do that in this tutorial and how to paint them. So I used a whole bunch of different tools just to have some fun with this. And this is easy to do. You'd be surprised how nice it'll come out. You just start tinkering around with some cutting tools like this. See, and making rocks. It's like rocks. Just rock shapes. All kinds of crazy rock shapes. In different spots. I didn't do the whole bank. It's 8 foot of bank here, but I did it in different sections to make it interesting looking. So there you go. So now let's paint them, right? A couple of different shades of gray for the rocks and the stone. And I did brown in a lot of areas too. But it's stone. So, and then I used black inside the cracks and crevices, because that gives it a natural look. It's darker in those. The sun doesn't get into those areas much. So I put some black in there. You know, just have fun with this. I love painting stones. And then some white highlights on the high parts of the rocks, so the sun is shining on them. And that's it. That's the stones. It's pretty nice. I actually have a stone making tutorial. I have a wall making tutorial. You know, I get a lot of videos. But see, doesn't that look good? I like it. Stone, a little bit of green, some brown on the right. It's the bank of a moat. It's a lot of work, actually. I spent about 12 hours doing this. I spent 6 hours one night. In the morning, I get up and I finished it. So it was a lot of work, but it was well worth it. You know, I'm moving this diorama forward. So now let's paint the Lexan, the polycarbonate sheet there. Flip it over. We're going to paint the underside of it and peel off the protective plastic cover. And I use 2 shades of blue. And the first thing we do is we lay in a nice big, dapple in a nice layer of blue. And see how beautiful that blue is, nice and bright. You know, dapple it in really well. And you can kind of go crazy with this. You know, do 2 shades of blue, vary it up a little bit, however you want. It's your moat, your river. And you'll change it depending on if the water is stagnant or if the water is flowing. And then a layer of black right down the middle, because that makes it look like it's deeper in the middle of the moat. And then I spread that out. We don't want it to look that defined. You want to spread it out, so add a lot of blue to it and kind of soften it. So there's a transition. See it? Add some more blue, and there we go. So we get a transition. It's kind of darker in the middle where it's deeper, and it's bluer towards the banks. And then one more thing. Then I added some white along the edges, like this. Just dapple in some white, and then smudge that in too by dabbing it, dab it, smudge it in. And you get a really good look. That really looks good. And remember, this is the bottom that we painted, because we don't want to apply the liquid gel to it. So then we put it in place. Looks very good. I said that. We put it in place. There we go. It's in place. Nice and gentle once it's dried. Peel off the top protective layer of plastic. Look how shiny that is. It's like water. Then we can, assemble the rest of it together, put those top pieces on of the bank to finish it, to finish the building of it. All right, any kind of glue you want to use. I use good old flex paste. And put those pieces together. Let's assemble it. There we go. Part 7 of the Storm the Castle Diorama. If you've been following this, it took me quite a while to get to this one because we got a lot of stuff going on. I got Hobbit Week coming up. It's a lot, but thanks for sticking with it. It is coming along. You remember the first couple of installments where I had nothing. We started with drawings. But it's been fun. I love doing big projects like this that take a long period of time. You might remember, if you've been with me a while, the medieval village. That was a wonderful project. We had a lot of little peasant buildings and, a blacksmithy and stuff like that. That was a fun project. So that's it. So now let's do the water. I know you're dying to see this part. All this is a gloss gel medium by Liquitex. This is an artist's medium, and it adds bulk. And I use a popsicle stick to kind of swirl it on in small waves. Because this is still water, I don't really want big waves. You can make big waves that stick up a lot, and you can use a heavy gel. But for something like this with stagnant or still water, you use a medium gel, medium thickness. It's by Liquitex. It's called medium gloss gel. And you just go ahead and do it all. Must have taken me a half an hour to do the whole moat. Just like this, you swirl it in, make it nice and consistent, and just do everything. And when it dries clear. But the beautiful thing about this white like that is you can see where you've put it. You can tell how it looks and how the pattern is and everything, and I like it. There you go. The river is pretty much done. One quick little thing, use a Q-tip to clean up the edges. Right? There you go. That's it. Your moat is done. Water effects. Use this technique to do all kinds of water effects. And see the white caps? It's not quite dry yet. It needs another day to finish drying. But you can use a little bit of white paint and put those white caps on if you want. Thank you. Here's a couple more projects you might like.